You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the CEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of CEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today we are here with Cheryl Morrow, CEO and entrepreneur, renowned expert of black hair and beauty care, also the publisher of San Diego Monitor, and soon launching 2MRW Collab as an incubator. And that's coming up pretty soon, isn't it, Cheryl?
Yes.
So tell us when. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a true, and I don't know if people attest to this, but, or believe in, I'm a true Aquarian as we're coming into like the age of Aquarius, right? And so I believe that not just in terms of time, but moving forward is about re-examining what has already been done, improve it, or let's just throw it all away and do something new, right? And so tomorrow is a wonderful vision of scouting and educating and engaging with new ideas as you meet new people and pulling them into the textured hair care industry and matching them with technology we already have in our roster and with resources. And how do we improve it? What are you offering? And taking influencers and brand ambassadors, just that whole concept to a whole new level. And so I'm excited to meet what's out there, and so tomorrow is obviously a play off my last name. And 2 is, my dad was 1.0 and I'm 2.0. And so it just seemed natural. And of course, my compadre in it all, Charles, he's, he just has these massive names coming out of his head. So yeah, it's I can't wait to what I find.
The one thing that I appreciate about the pandemic is how people have really examined themselves, and many have come out of this saying, okay, corporate America is no longer for me. Mm-hmm. And they are taking their personal journeys to a totally different level on a different path. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I actually, the only thing probably about the pandemic that I really appreciate is how people have really examined what they want the rest of their lives to look like and how they're evolving. Mm-hmm. And, taking the good things about their life and really bringing it to a whole new level and starting businesses and really reaching out to do things that they never, ever thought that they would ever do. Mm-hmm. And, that's one of the things about this podcast. Yeah. It's to have other people and predominantly young women, but lots of people, to be exposed to careers that maybe they never even thought about for 1 second of their lives. And so I'm loving, I want to hear more about this, but I want to go back to your childhood.
Oh boy.
We all have these crazy stories, but tell me about one story, just so people can get to know you a little bit as a young girl and what brought you to where you are today. Do you have one where you could say, that kind of really helped shape me, or these things that I did were part of who I really am deep down?
Because I am too 55. And so I was allowed to be an athlete. And So at the menopause thing, I think just in my parents encouraging me to play, because I went to a private school and 7-day Adventist. How weird is that, right? And so I went to church also, all 5 days of school because 7-day Adventist. And so then I had to double down and go to church on Sunday. And so, but the real great childhood, and I had a great childhood. And so in having that, but the wonderful opportunities to be competitive in sports, I think that gave me the single most confidence moving forward after, because I think I did 2 years in college and forget that. I knew that that was not going to work. So, and just being able to really authentically experience competing and not make it personal. What I didn't get introduced to the art of competition. It was real group sports, And so playing basketball, varsity basketball, and tag football and varsity. I was always on varsity. So, and just that's just a whole great memory of being able to play with men and boys and just on the varsity level. And so I just really enjoyed and learned probably a respect for the art of competing that really just made me comfortable with difficult situations.
Well, and then also being part of a team, because I think, when you look at careers, there are very few that are a single one person doing it by themselves. and you have to rely on other people. You have to trust other people. And then you also have to figure out how to bring everyone's gifts together to have that common goal of success, right? So this is kind of a loaded question. One word. What is one word that you think really tells a story of who you are? Who is Cheryl?
Wow. Listening. I have a gift of listening. Hearing hearing what is not being said.
Body language,
Hearing.
facial expressions. Yeah.
Right. And there's a word that when you do play group sports, but there's a word, and I know you've heard it many times, and it's called, the alpha female, right? And always, being, not self-associated, but people associating me with that and understanding that any alpha or in the room is really about making other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And, and not the mean girl, not the one, or even the other extreme, like just the wallflower.
Right.
But or the one that people fear, but the one that comes in the room that, like you said, brings people to the center. That is probably but you have to learn how to listen.
Sure, definitely.
So, listener is that one word.
And thinker, because you're thinking about everything that's being said verbally,
yes,
and then also non-verbally.
Right.
I think it's all of it put together. That's a very interesting perspective. So, how do you measure success? And I know that too is a loaded question because it's probably evolving and it looks different at different
well,
times.
I have I can get there very easy with that answer because I had to answer it. I think last week, and it was my brother Robert. He says, "So what, sister? So what is your version of success?" Not having one. That's my version of success. Because if you are experiencing it, you have no time to define it.
That's right.
You have no time. It's just something that hits you in the face and say, oops, wow, damn, I did the damn thing, didn't I? You're not, it's just not static.
Right.
It's a feeling, so, and just imagine the power to not even have one. That is so fluid. And whenever I decide, can you imagine you're doing a project and you say, oh, it's over. And they're like, well, what happened? I got what I wanted out of it. Well, it's not done. It's just not static for me. So, and I know we get stuck on it and it becomes, wrought with, so much stuff. So, but to even have the freedom of time freedom could be one for me, I guess.
What about failure?
Oh, well, I got taught about failure from my dad, and we would be in the office. It could be on a Saturday, and so he would pull me in and he would just tell me to come here with his finger, and he would say, Cheryl, you told me to come back here and create you a lotion, right? And I says, yeah. He said, do you see all this? He said, I screwed it up. It's about $5,000 of screw ups. He said, but let's just say out of 100, and I screwed up 98 of them.
Right.
He said, I'm not going to teach you about 0 to 98. I'm going to only teach you about the 99 that got the 100. And so if you just erase the 0 to 98, is it failure? Technically, because you're in pursuit. But if you juxtapose it, the 100, the success, with the 98, well, then you would come up with failure. But it's that 99th one that defines the failure. And if you want to just technically look at it like that, then you can. But the one formula, you're only having a very short distance. So the 99th led to the 100th. Why teach 1, 2, 3, 55, 67, and then 88? And then why take someone through all of that?
Right.
Who cares?
It's a lesson. It's a lesson to get to the 99.
Right. And my whole thing is, I'm just going to deal with the 99 because the 99's not 100.
Right.
But there's so many treasures in that information, that totality within that 99th one, that is so much more teachable and rich because it's the anticipation and the expectation. And that is not that and you're still not done. You just need to know what you need to know to get to the 100. Just need to know what you need to know, So that's how I look at it.
Very interesting perspective. Okay, so every day I'm sure looks very different for you, but how do you balance your work career with your responsibilities at home? And I have to say, with the kids and everything, and my kids are older now; they're in their 20s. They lived. I didn't. No one got hurt too badly.
No one killed anybody.
No, but there were literally times where I would go, "Oh, I'm such a failure," and just those moments. And then there were times like, "Oh, I'm killing it." I mean. But those are very, I think,
Yes.
You're going to have all of it, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think about the whole balancing idea or notion?
First, Rebecca, am I aligned with me first before I go look after anybody else? Because I am the first one to say, women, and this is not a negative, what I'm about to say, women lie. We have to, because we have to get through the day. So we may say, oh, honey, that's wonderful. We haven't even looked at it. We may not even like it. But we know we are in survival. We are pushing people through to their best self basically every day. But you get in the car and you say, okay, I'm going to tell myself the truth here. And if I'm okay with it, and if I can live with it, well, everybody's going to grow up around me at that point. And so then you start, and after we get into the car, we have to be good delegators. We have to delegate.
That's right, because we can't do it
delegate.
all.
And I think that once we find that out, that is so much more teachable to delegate. You know.
Well, I think part of delegation is also accepting that everything is not going to be exactly the way you want it.
Right. Well, it was so funny because I had a business partner and I'm typing and she told me not to do what I was doing. And so she says back to me, I really don't like that. And I says, well, why? And she said, I don't know yet, but I'm going to get back to you. So about 15 minutes later, Rebecca, she comes back and she says, I finally know why I don't like that. And she used a 4-letter word, but
Wow.
She says, because it's not the way I want it. And we broke out in the biggest laughter because she was authentic and I didn't break and I didn't crumble and nothing happened. But, and I tried to get, you can't do the whole right thing, do the half right thing.
But you're never going to be successful at delegating if you want it exactly the way you want it. You'll make yourself insane.
And if I'm okay with insane.
Yeah. Like when you tell your kids and they're little, oh, clean up after yourself. And, there's peanut butter wiped all over the counter and it's a huge mess. And you're like, well, that's not at all what I meant. But guess what? It's got to be good enough because it's the effort that needs to be recognized. And then, you try to teach the next time a better way of doing it. And,
don't let, perfection be the enemy of good enough.
That's right.
What are they? That's the old saying.
So delegating, and then also, not having expectations of it being exactly the way
I can be helped. I learned how to be helped.
You're teachable.
I learned how to be helped, girl. That is a massive. I don't have to do this. I can give this to somebody else,
So I have a question about men in the workplace. Do you experience resistance with them? I certainly do.
Rebecca.
Not from all men. There are a lot of men that look at you as an equal, I think. But there are definitely some that are somewhat.
But men are trickable.
Trickable.
Yeah, you can trick them very easy.
Interesting.
You can trick them very easy. Judge Judy used to always say, men are dirt. They're very simple. They're not complex at all. So, come in the room. Oh, somebody smells wonderful. Is that you? Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh, by the way, can you open this jar? Yeah, sure. At that point, okay, we gave them what they needed. They felt important. Boom. And then crack them right over the head and say, look, check this out. I need to do this and do this and do this and do this. Can you help me with that? Works every time.
So first come in with an affirmation, and then they'll be eating out of your hands. Is that what you're saying?
Well, because it's really, really practical.
Yeah,
it's practical for them, and you learn that in sports. You must, and that's because there's a natural resistance because they're socialized to think that is masculine. It's not masculine. It's just in the way.
Right.
And so once you remove it, and that's the art I learned from my mom. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk role models. You brought your mom up.
Yes.
Let's talk role models. Who do you think is the most significant, and it could be more than one, role model in your life?
Ooh.
Sometimes it's a melding of a lot of different people.
Yes. I would probably say I'm a microcosm of a lot of most fascinating, insane, crazy people. But role model. Yeah, because you got that word in the way, role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, I don't know if I can name one or two or three. Define it. Let's say if I wanted to fit in a role.
Well, this is a complicated one, and
Yeah, it's complicated.
I'm going to tell you why. Because sometimes when I think of people that are role models, I actually think of people also that have done everything that I would never do, and they've helped. Well, no, and they've literally helped shape me in a way to say, you know what, I'm never going to do things that way because I don't like it, and they actually are a role model in a way to actually help shape me still. Even in a negative manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have been fortunate to be around people who were definitely, and the ones that I probably would say would be my father and my mother, and a woman. Oh my God, two women in New York. Because I spent 19 years in Manhattan, on the island, not the Bronx, not Brooklyn, not Queens.
It's very different than
Staten
California.
Island. No, all Manhattan, all those 19 years. And it was one woman, her name was Juliet Hinton. And she was like a Renaissance woman, fashion designer, a chef, and a painter. Oh, God. And so, yeah, she was Juliet Hinton. And I met her husband first, then I met her later. But, oh my God, but just so in charge, self-composed, self-governed, sovereign, if I could describe her.
Wow.
And funny, very funny. And she always would tell me, she said, you know people are funny, right? She said, if you could just really look at them, they are hilarious. Their whole lives and interactions, things they go through, the way they see things, you know. And I met this other young man, well, older man. His name was one time, but all his works and writings, Vernon Howard. Are you familiar with Vernon
Yeah,
Howard?
I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
And that is, he has this saying that was akin to your comment about the pandemic, esoterically, slowing down is speeding up.
Right. And really that
Yeah.
self-introspection of what do I really want? Who am I and what really drives me?
Yeah, the pandemic for me just really allowed me to ask better questions.
Which is good. Always searching yourself and figuring out. I would say the one constant in life is change, of course. But I think even the pandemic has even made that even more pronounced in many people's lives. And they say, you know what? I'm going on a completely different path. I was here and now I'm going so far the opposite way. Just because that is no longer important to me. How off track
am I to me? What, and am I really doing a con job here? Am I in my own con, And so just the slowing down allowed people to take life, warp speed jumps ahead.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating, phenomenon to have lived it all together. It's almost like we were the same age, the same place, and just like we're all just the same person. So what are we going to do with it?
Right.
We're like really in the same boat here. Wow. We're not, because I was talking to the lovely, infamous Jane Elliott. And so she said, oh, yeah. She said, boy, the pandemic made everybody just a little stick figure. You don't know what race a person is. If they want to take their picture up, you don't know what on their app. Everything's virtual, so so now we can't even use certain prejudices because we don't know. So it was a fascinating time.
A huge learning lesson. A huge learning lesson. So when you, you're going to walk into a room of young women and you're gonna give them some advice about lessons that you've learned and what you really want them to take away from what you have to say to them. What would that be?
Wow. Well, that's a great question. Full of women, young or old or what? Just young women.
Yeah.
Wow. Try not to be angry. And with, try to, in any environment, to really separate intelligence and a person's conditioning. People will intellectually understand you or try to. And even try to understand what you are saying. They'll intellectually get it, but they'll be conditioned to do it wrong. And if you could just separate, and talk about your anger. Because what anger does to women is, I think, one of the strongest misused forces on the planet.
So when you think about anger, who do you think that it actually hurts in the long run? Does it hurt the people around you, or does it hurt you the most because you're changing who you are?
Remember the saying that, the double-edged sword?
Mm-hmm.
I think how it really damages is when you're around other girls. And, we have to understand that all women are the epitome of a mother, of a leader, of a friend, of a sister. No matter what your gender, you're everything. You're taught to be a little bit of everything. And anger will obscure and weaken those powers. And so I think it cheats you because you're not being honest. And it also robs you of the compassion you need for yourself. And if we want to understand and deal with power, because power doesn't have to mean anything over people. It really allows you to understand you can have power over your destiny, who you align with. And if you can understand your own anger, you will be able to see people and see yourself and see things clearly. It is the ultimate, what we do with anger, it is the ultimate courage.
Yeah.
I feel.
Well, you're courageous, very courageous, I can tell.
Thank you.
So what's next on your long list of all the things that you dabble in? What are you doing?
Oh,
tomorrow
man.
I know you're launching. You want to talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like?
So I decided to say, okay, I'm going to pick, I want to pick a virtual mentor. I don't have to meet her. I don't have to, but to exude and embody the spirit of that individual. Study it. Study her life. And so the challenges, and I'm talking about all the grit and ugly and glory and beauty of that particular individual. Want to know who I chose?
Yes, I do.
Anna Wintour.
Interesting.
And because I have a challenge of going into the textured hair care industry without infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm deciding where it begins and where it stops. I want to do this, and I'm going to cut it off. And at that cutoff point, I'm going to hand it off. And I'm choosing to get into the textured hair industry, Rebecca, because I know that there's lack of infrastructure. And choosing Anna Wintour is looking at the fascinating things that she's been able to do at fashion's darkest moments. And instead of seeing the problem, because you're already in the problem, the solutions, some of the things that she has been managed, and she did it with infrastructure. However, and to challenge myself in terms of technology, biosciences, fintech, some of these things are not there. And so the Tomorrow collaborator, and I chose to call it collaborator instead of incubator and accelerator.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I have something to offer. But I'm assuming the other person does too.
Right.
And I'm not holier than thou and come in, I'm going to tell you everything. But we're going to collab and we're going to bring the marbles and you bring your jacks. And we're going to make something beautiful. And travel to Oakland and Los Angeles and St. Louis and Detroit and Chicago. And
research
Charlotte,
and do all of that.
And what's out there.
Yeah.
And one of the also interesting things is that college needs a new business model as well. Because they need to be able to have trade choices coming out of college, not just job or ladder or corporate. They need to be able to say, I have obtained a education, but I also can match that with my hands. And I don't necessarily have to match it with a desk or a position. And so I believe that the collaborator is going to go into college campuses and find the chemical engineers and say, why don't you go straight to a business?
Right.
Instead of a job or a position. Look for an opportunity, not a salary. Get in and get dirty and get into the street level of what your major is about. And I think that is just so much more exciting. So I'm excited.
Well, and again, back to what I said originally about the pandemic and the evolution and the
yes.
and the shift away from corporate America. I think you're right. I mean, and there's nothing better than working for yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to. First of all, the live and die is all about what you're willing to do, and then it's also about what you are. You're able to make your own schedule. You're able to do everything that you want to do, and you don't have to rely on anyone else.
And people didn't realize that if you're going to pay rent or a mortgage, why are you pursuing trying to get an office someplace else?
Right.
Just take a separate room and make it your office.
Right.
Voila.
Then you don't have to commute.
I mean, it just solves a lot of
Sure.
And it gives you some tax advantages as well.
That's right.
So I think that we were really educated to a whole new life model, friend model, family model.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of models got restructured.
That's right.
Our wants and contrasts began to really be defined, because one of the things that a great spiritualist, his name is Reverend Ike, he would always say, be specific and be definite with the infinite. Don't go to asking source and being ambiguous. Be specific. What is it that you want? He asked a guy one day, what kind of car do you want? Oh, well, at this time, Reverend Ike, I would take any kind. He said, well, they don't make that kind. There is not a dealership that says any kind.
That's right.
Be specific. And so I'm just thinking that that's a new model in terms of, am I really being specific? Nah. I want this.
Well, and I think that is actually something new because a lot of people 5 years ago, you say, what do you want? I don't know. I think truly, spending the time with yourself during the pandemic, more time really looking at the inside, figuring out who you are, what you want, and making those shifts leads to just that, being more specific. So I think one of your lessons is learn what the specific is for you.
Yes.
For sure.
And I don't know why people do not give them that gift. I don't know if we're afraid the world won't adjust or something, or
I think people don't know themselves very well.
Yeah.
Truly. Which, I think that is changing for certain, but
I do think women are braver. I think they finally found out the world is not going to crumble because they speak their truth.
Right.
And we got, we were in the house all scrunched up together, and we really found out about how much our children were learning, and weren't. Yep. And that was eye-opening, to say the least.
For sure. Definitely. Well, thank you for this wonderful talk, Cheryl. We're here with Cheryl Morrow today. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming and joining us
Rebecca,
today.
you make it so comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with CEO host Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.